again. Welcome back to the program. Glad you could join me. I hope your summer is going well and that you're enjoying your summer reading. I wanted to talk today about a book called Infernal Justice by N.P. Martin. It's book 1 in the Ethan Drake series. Ethan Drake, pictured here on the cover, is a police officer working in Washington in Fairfield. And he is the head of a unit called Unit X. It's not really that spectacular because there's only 2 members of Unit X, Ethan and his partner. It was put in place by the new commissioner of police who saw the supernatural crime and saw that it was either being overlooked and ignored or actively being propagated by the police, and then there was corruption in the ranks. So he put Unit X together and told them that their remit was this supernatural stuff. Now, the police have known about the supernatural stuff for years. The thing is that they don't want to admit that there's the supernatural stuff going on because then they'd have to do something about it. Ethan, far from being a skeptic, is a believer because he's been dealing with this stuff since he was little. His mother, in fact, was killed by a vampire when he was little, and he witnessed it. So Ethan, after making it to maturity, was recruited by a mercenary organization called Black Star that goes after these kind of creatures. And Ethan, at this point, is no longer entirely human. So there is that. And on top of that, Ethan's partner is a demon. Well, is possessed by a demon. The story here revolves around the body snatching of a recently killed woman. She was convicted in the death of her husband and her children, and she was executed. And her body was stolen, they think, by devil worshippers. Because the night before it was stolen, they found a dog nailed to a tree with a pentagram carved into its head. Ethan and his partner are then sent to figure out what's going on, why this body was snatched, and what they could do about it. It definitely gets gritty. Well, it is gritty. Let me go there right off. But it does get into more details about what's going on with the body and all that other stuff. There's a huge conspiracy to bring back some beings that were exiled from the planet, and also on top of that to bring a demon lord, a high-ranking devil to Earth. So, what did I like and not like about this book? The book flowed well. I got into it. I got to read it, started reading it, and I really got sucked in to the narrative. I wanted to find out what was going to happen next. So it is a good read in that sense. A lot of times, and this is, I know people who they get into a book, and even if they don't like it, they have to finish it. I'm not one of those people. If I don't like the book, I'm tossing it. But I liked to read this book. It was a good read. However, there were some things that I felt were problematic with the book. Ethan, in particular. Ethan is not a likable character. He's just not. He's a huge, huge jerk. Now, he does like to be a cop. He does like to help people. But at one point, he comes home, and there's this little girl in his apartment building, and he finds her. She's oftentimes locked out of her apartment because her mom is doing things with boyfriends and whatnot, and so she's sitting on the stairs reading a book. Well, he comes and finds her, and she's been struck by the mom's boyfriend. So he brings her into her apartment and administers first aid, and then proceeds to almost beat the boyfriend to death. A police officer, in this case. He should know better. On top of that, he goes up against some devil worshippers and has no problems torturing them to get information from them. He's a drug addict. Now, I feel that the author was trying to set up Ethan to be this sympathetic character. His ex-wife and his daughter were murdered shortly before the narrative takes place, and he's dealing with that, but his dealing with that is, I'm going to take these drugs so I don't have to deal with it. And so that, was to me one of the big glaring issues with the book is I didn't really care about Ethan because he just wasn't a likable character. I know that for the most part, I say I know, but for the most part, you do want your audience to like the main character. But I just didn't. He was a total jerk. I couldn't really understand why people would want to be around or work with this guy. He was a jerk, for lack of a better word. His partner was a better character in a lot of ways. She was a lot more one-dimensional because we spent more time with Ethan than we did with the partner. But the fact that the partner was this demon who had come to Earth with the thought. So if you go into research on Catholic and Christian mythology, you know that demons were once angels, and they were cast out by God, and they are now fallen. So this demon came to Earth, escaped from hell, came to Earth to try to atone and maybe make it back into God's good graces. But there's a lot in the book about God abandoning Earth, and Earth is worse than hell, and so it's a very dark book in that regard. And I'm not saying that that is the view of the author. It's definitely the view of Ethan, and that's again something that makes Ethan not such a likable character. I mean, he's like, why why does he try to make the world better if he just thinks that God has abandoned his creation? Why would he even bother? Anyway, back to my criticism and things. So to me, the fact that that demon had come to Earth to try to be a better being, that actually to me seemed much more compelling than Ethan. Another thing about this is, kind of has to do with the flow of the story. There were several times during the narrative where Ethan had exactly what he needed right at the time that he needed it. Now, to be fair, to be honest, Ethan had it the whole time. Ethan, as I said, is not entirely human. He worked for an organization that hunted monsters, and those monsters were stronger, faster, etc. than humans, and so the mercenary organization he worked for did procedures on him to make him the equal of those monsters. So he had metal grafted to his skeleton. He had a couple of chips implanted in him to do various things. So he was in effect a cyborg. He also had biological improvements that were carried out on him when he was a mercenary. But the thing is that those should have been set up before. It's like, hey, I'm going up against this devil. How do I deal with it? Or I'm going up against this vampire. How do I deal with it? Oh, it's no problem. I'm just as fast as a vampire. That kind of thing. It's like, well, shouldn't you have told us that those were things in your character when we were talking about your backstory earlier, rather than just say, oh, I worked for Black Star, and hope that we as the readers understood what that meant? I mean, this is supposed to be book one of the series where we're setting all this up, but you're having Ethan get in a fight and suddenly he's Superman. It's like, well, you should have told us that he was Superman before he got in the fight, rather than wait until the fight and say, you can't hurt me because I'm Superman. So I felt that there was a couple of things like that were a little bit off. There was also a couple of editorial things. And this is nothing to do with the author. This is, as I said, this is more of a critique of the editorial things. I know that there was a couple places where the wording was a bit garbled. Like somebody didn't proofread it well enough. And there's a couple of places where the author had used the wrong word in a certain setting, and that could have been an autocorrect thing. He was typing it out, autocorrect fixed it, and it should have been the other word. I know at one point he was talking about someone who, if I remember right, it was they didn't emit a sound. Only he didn't use emit, he used omit. If you think about it, omit means you leave something out. So he didn't leave out the sound. But that's not what he was trying to say. He was trying to say the person didn't make a sound, not the person left, didn't leave out the sound. So there was a couple things like that where the editor, I think, screwed up in a couple places where they needed to do a little bit better job there. Anyway, that's it for today. As I said, I have mixed feelings. I liked the narrative. The writing style was good, but didn't like the character. I found the character to be unlikable. There is actually one other thing, and that is the use of swearing. I don't know why it just dropped out of my mind, and that's not actually the word that I want. It seems almost gratuitous, the amount of curse words that there are in the book. I get it. You want to put something in there for emphasis, and that's fine. I know there's better ways to do it, but you're talking about a police officer who's talking to people. Yeah, there's going to be some rough words, if you will. So I understand that you're trying to do that, but it seemed like the author was putting in curse words to put in the curse words, not necessarily because the curse word should have been there, if that makes any sense. Anyway, that's it for this one. I don't think I'm going to go and find the rest of the books in the series. They did include an excerpt from a different story that the author had written, and maybe that one I might look into. But I think I'm done with the Ethan Drake series. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought of it if you've read this one. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading.